Jefferson's constitutional dilemma. Ironically, the greatest obstacle to the Louisiana Purchase was not France. It was Thomas Jefferson himself. Jefferson believed in limited government. He argued that federal powers should be strictly defined by the Constitution. But the Constitution never specifically mentioned purchasing foreign territory. Jefferson worried that approving the deal might violate his own principles. For weeks, he considered proposing a constitutional amendment. Yet time was running out. The opportunity might vanish if America delayed. Eventually, Jefferson reached a conclusion. The benefits outweighed the risks. The purchase was approved. Critics accused him of abandoning his principles. Supporters praised his vision. History would ultimately judge the decision as one of the most important acts of leadership in American history, because the true impact of the purchase was only beginning to unfold. The deal that changed America forever. The Louisiana Purchase transformed the United States in ways few people could have imagined. It opened vast new lands for settlement. It encouraged exploration, including the famous Lewis and Clark expedition. It secured control of the Mississippi River and strengthened the nation's economy. Over time, new states emerged from the territory. Cities grew, railroads expanded, industries flourished. The purchase laid the foundation for America's westward expansion and future economic power. Looking back, $15 million seems like an extraordinary bargain. But its true value cannot be measured in money alone. The Louisiana Purchase reshaped the map of North America. It altered the balance of power on the continent, and it demonstrated how a single strategic decision can change the course of history. When people ask how America became a superpower, the answer begins here. With a bold decision, a controversial gamble, and a deal that doubled a nation. The Louisiana Purchase was not merely a transaction. It was the first giant step toward the America we know today, the deal that shocked the world. Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that your country had just doubled in size. Not through war, not through conquest, not through revolution, but through a single business deal. In 1803, the United States purchased more than 828,000 square miles of territory from France for just $15 million. At first glance, it sounds impossible. Today, that land includes all or part of 15 American states and contains some of the richest farmland, natural resources, and transportation routes on Earth. But at the time, nobody knew what the future would hold. Many Americans believed the purchase was reckless. Others called it unconstitutional. Some thought the land was nothing more than an endless wilderness. Yet this single decision would change the destiny of the United States forever. It would open the door to westward expansion, economic growth, and eventually, America's rise as a global power. The Louisiana Purchase was more than a land deal. It was a gamble that transformed a young republic into a continental nation. But how did it happen? Why would Napoleon Bonaparte, one of the most powerful leaders in Europe, agree to sell such an enormous territory? And why did President Thomas Jefferson struggle with a decision that would become one of the greatest achievements of his presidency? To answer those questions, we must travel back to a time when the future of America was far from certain. A time when the nation stood at a crossroads, and one extraordinary opportunity changed everything. America before the purchase. In the early years of the 19th century, the United States was still a young and fragile nation. The Revolutionary War had ended only a few decades earlier. The country stretched from the Atlantic Ocean to the Mississippi River. Beyond that river lay an immense wilderness controlled by foreign powers. For American farmers, the Mississippi River was more than a waterway. It was an economic lifeline. Farmers in Kentucky, Tennessee, and the western frontier depended on the river to transport crops and goods to international markets.
At the mouth of the Mississippi stood the city of New Orleans. Whoever controlled New Orleans controlled the trade of the American interior, and that control belonged to France. This created a serious problem. The United States feared that a foreign power could cut off access to the river at any moment. Without the Mississippi, Western economic growth could collapse. President Thomas Jefferson understood the danger. He knew that securing New Orleans was essential to the nation's future. But he had no idea that events unfolding thousands of miles away in Europe would soon create an unexpected opportunity, an opportunity far greater than anyone imagined. Napoleon's problem. Across the Atlantic Ocean, France was led by one of history's most famous military commanders, Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon dreamed of building a vast French empire. The Louisiana Territory was a critical part of that vision. France hoped to use Louisiana as a base for expansion in North America. But events did not go according to plan. A major slave uprising in Saint-Domingue, present-day Haiti, devastated French ambitions in the Caribbean. French forces suffered enormous losses. At the same time, war with Britain threatened France's resources and attention. Napoleon faced difficult choices. Maintaining a massive territory across the ocean would be expensive and risky. If war intensified, Britain could easily seize Louisiana. Instead of losing the territory to an enemy, Napoleon considered a radical alternative: selling it. The decision shocked even his advisors. But for Napoleon, the sale offered immediate cash and allowed him to focus on European conflicts. What happened next would astonish American diplomats.
The American diplomats could hardly believe what they were hearing. They had crossed the Atlantic hoping to purchase only New Orleans. Instead, France was offering an empire. More than 8,28,000 square miles of territory, land stretching from the Mississippi River to the Rocky Mountains. It was one of the most astonishing offers in diplomatic history. The question was no longer whether America wanted New Orleans. The question was whether it could afford to miss the opportunity of a lifetime. On April 30, 1803, the deal was finalized. With the stroke of a quill pen, history changed forever. For $15 million, the United States acquired more than 8,28,000 square miles of territory. No battles were fought, no armies marched. Yet this single agreement would become one of the most important victories in American history.
This treaty secures our future and doubles the size of our nation. Doubles the size of our nation. This decision will shape the destiny of our nation.
There is no telling how far this land goes.
The Louisiana Purchase changed America forever. If you enjoyed this documentary, please like, subscribe, and join us for the next chapter in the story of how America became a superpower.